Let's key in on the U.S., Chuck. What went wrong for the U.S. in the second half after playing to a scoreless draw in the first 45?
Well, they didn't finish their chances. That's one. Because right after France scored, I was really curious to see how they would go about the game. Is this okay, let's keep it the way we've been playing and condense lines and not really have any efficiency going forward? But the response was fantastic. And you see the Tolkien makes the run to the back post and he heads it off the post, which was difficult to see. But then France continued to have more space and they get the second goal. The first goal, ultimately, I think Schulte should have done better. It was from far out. Lacazette turns. He has a lot of space. It's a rolling to the back post, and I think he was too close to his near post. The second one, that's on Tolkien again, because you see Paxton Aronson, he's kind of in no man's land. He gets spun around. He's out of position. Tolkien doesn't know whether to step to Olise or not. He doesn't, and Olise bends it perfectly around him for the second goal. And the third goal is a corner, just wanting it more and ending it right there for Bade. So ultimately, the better team won, but you have to be impressed with how they played in the first half to frustrate France.
Yep.
But when you do that, when you're an inferior opponent, when France has much more individual talent, but they couldn't figure it out because they were frustrated. The space wasn't there, and Mateta and Lacazette didn't work well together as strikers, then you have to be able to finish your chance when you get it. And Paxton Aronson had a good chance at the end of the first half. You saw the Tolkien header off the post, and those two opportunities, you have to put them away.
Yeah, what was your takeaway, Nigel, watching that game yesterday?
I thought the US done well. I'll give them even up to 60 minutes in that game. I felt they'd done well. I felt that they could grow into the game. They frustrated France ever so well. I agree with Charlie. I think for me, Aronson's chances in the first half, because you watched the game together, when he came in on the left, and you even shouted at the TV to say he should have tried to bend it into that far post, but he struck it near post, goalkeeper made a save. He had two chances like that in the first half. And if they'd have taken the lead, you'd be looking at a complete different game. And I think what we always say all the time, goals change games. As soon as France got that first goal, the game was completely changed. And US had to be a bit more adventurous to try and get back into the game. And then when you start doing that, with the quality of players that France have, they're going to punish you. But I'll give them 60 minutes. They did so well. I thought Tessman and Boucher in midfield were really good. They were sensational. They really stopped Olise controlling or having any kind of influence in the game for France for up to 60 minutes. And then, like Charlie said again, for the second goal, I feel for me, what's his name? Sorry, Charlie.
So for
the left back for US, I forgot his name now. Tolkien should have got tighter. He should have seen the danger. And this is what we talk about football intelligence at this level. You've got to see what the problem is right there and right then. You've got to make decisions as quick as that. And that comes with just education of the game and having football intelligence and what some of the top managers talk about. You see there, you're that close, you know how dangerous of a player is. Don't let him get his head up. You've just got to go and press him to get his head down, not to bend it. It is going to be disappointing, but France did have the quality, but I wouldn't even say France played that well.
No,
but
they
can
didn't.
be happy about their performances. And
one player stood out, and that was Kone.
Kone
was phenomenal.
He was really good.
But he had to resort to shooting from long range because there was no space for him to make that final pass. And from that standpoint, Marko Mitrović did a fantastic job of organizing the team defensively. But then you see Duncan Maguire, you're not getting anything from him in the attacking half of the game because my man is just defending. And to one point you say, okay, well, impact the game. If you're not getting the ball, okay, impact. But when you do have those opportunities, what can you do with it? And he's not the type of player to dribble. He's not the type of player to create on his own.
We were watching it. We said it one time when we saw Duncan so deep. I said, why is Duncan so deep? Like, even if you win the ball, and they did win the ball, I said, you've got no outlet. Like, France had you completely pinned in. You have to be brave at times, and you have to encourage your players to be brave and to believe in themselves. Yes, you're playing France, but be confident that you can handle these situations and you're comfortable to compete one-on-one to give you an opportunity to get forward. If you stay camped in, it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, and I agree with everything that's been said. I think clearly they were trying to use Kevin Paredes, smart switching him to the right, trying to use him sort of as an outlet to sort of relieve a little bit of that pressure.
So do you think it's good to switch him to the right?
No, I think it was good. I thought it created a little bit of confusion, but I think using him as an outlet to release some of that pressure clearly was the tactic they were going for, as opposed to having Duncan Maguire continue to put pressure on the back line, which I would have loved to see more. In particular, I thought Mihailovic did a pretty good job of defending. I didn't see enough of him in the attack. I didn't see enough of him in creating opportunities, specifically for Duncan Maguire, who needs to get the ball given to him, as opposed to him go out, search it, drive at a defender, make a shot for himself. Don't really think that's his game. I think the U.S. showed you how good they could be, but I think they also showed you where some of their discrepancies are, where they fall flat.
Well, he brought up a great point, and I'm glad you mentioned Kevin Paredes on the right. You have Kevin Paredes on the right. His whole career has been on the left. He's playing on the right now. He's always cutting inside to his left foot. His game is getting to the end line and using his pace and whipping in balls for a target striker.
Like a Duncan Maguire.
Paxton Aronson on the left, right-footed, constantly going inside. So those two players were out of position for this game. You needed those two to be going down the wing and providing service for Duncan Maguire. So, again, that's an area where I say Marko Mitrović got it wrong in the attacking phase of the game, because it was almost like he only focused on the defensive.
Here's what I'll say
hold on,
about, I
'cause
just
I
want
was
to say about Kevin Paredes being on the right. I thought for the first few minutes, let's say the first 11 minutes, I thought, okay, this is a change of, you're switching it up, you're causing confusion. I was expecting him to go back to the left, where we've seen him before. My only thought was maybe he was asking Tolkien to get further up, and that he thought that would clog that area, Marko Mitrović in particular, so he left him on the right. But I was confused as to why he stayed at the right. I love when you switch sides.
When the wingers switch sides, yeah.
Like when you play at that level, you've got to understand, if intelligent players and players who play at that highest level will be straight away like, okay, I'm playing against Charlie. I know Charlie's right foot, but he's playing left. He's going to go inside. Instantly, I'll just tell my midfielder he's always going to come inside, and that way I don't have to get dragged out of position. You're not going to affect the game because I know we're already kind of covered.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So for me, with Charlie's point of view, I'm like, you've got Duncan Maguire. You want your wingers to be aggressive, get at them. Because even when watching the game, I said to you, why is he going inside? When the outlet should be in the space, should be stay out wide, get the ball, and run the fullback down. And we were having those conversations.
Yeah, he was really active in the press. Duncan Maguire was really active in tracking back.
But you don't want him
I just don't think he was
you don't want him to be
exactly.
doing that the whole game. You need to use him to his strengths.
Yeah, it did seem at times like defense was the default. And Chuck, I listened to you all and call it what you want after. And one of the conversations that you had was about the midfield and the decision-making in the final third. So while the midfield was strong for a majority of the game, on the defensive side, where can they improve helping build the game forward for the U.S.?
Well, having someone who can control the tempo and is comfortable with the ball at their feet and taking pressure off the team, and they don't have that player. Georgi Mihailović is good at getting the ball into space. And Brian McBride talked about it yesterday. He said, when, Jack McGinn came in, he was phenomenal because he had time and space. I said, anybody, I could name a number of people with time and space, and they're going to be pretty damn good. But, you have to have players who can affect the game. And I don't want to talk about players who aren't there.
Mihailović is an overage player, though. I think that's a great point. You could have literally picked anyone.
Diego Luna is of age.
Well,
Esmir Bayraktarovic is of age. Players who give you something different.
It's something different. That's the conversation we had. I said to Charlie when we were watching the game, for me, all your US players are all the same kind of profile. I don't see anything unique or different from the majority of the players. And we even said, look at your bench right now. You're chasing the game now. Who can you bring off your bench to make a difference, to change this dynamic of this game? And there isn't. They're all very similar players. And like you said, the creativity element, you look good standpoint from defensively, organisation, good. But you still need that player that can receive the ball, comfortable under pressure, and make those through passes and make something happen. And that's not the same player profile as most of the players that were picked in this squad.
Do you agree with all that, Chuck?
Yeah, we've been saying this from day one when we saw this roster come out. And now when you see it in action, you say, okay, I get it from a defensive standpoint.
But you got to score goals.
But yeah, you got to be able to create. And from this game, okay, this is the favorites, right? France. And I think you saw France, there were some vulnerabilities. If they get frustrated, they don't necessarily have some players who know exactly what to do in those type of cases.
I'll say that, but give credit to USA, though, because USA did make it difficult.
Yeah, they did.
The game plan from that point, like I said, but You can't do that for 60 minutes. Unless you're a team that's coached to be understanding that I'm comfortable without the ball, we're comfortable without the ball for most of this game, but we still have weapons to get forward, that's fine. And I think one of the best managers at that is Diego Simeone. How he's coached the Atletico Madrid side is break us down. And they're comfortable without the ball for the whole game, but they can still go and score goals.
I think the U.S. were good in defending. I think they were good in transition. They just faltered in front of goal. They had,
but then there was a lack of creativity element as the game went on. You saw them get there.
Imagine they don't hit the post, and obviously I hate what ifs, but just imagine they don't hit the post and both of those go in. We're saying that that creative player still needed, but it's a little bit better. I think they got to where they needed to go. They just couldn't put the ball in.
The dangerous point to that is France still have attacking options that they can bring on to change the dynamic of the game when it's still 1-1. What can US do?
Look at how they use their overage players. Lacazette, a player that's probably not going to get more burn on the senior national team.
Probably, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I just, you never know.
I would say one thing.
Hold on. I want to say that Lacazette comes in. This is a chance for him to play for his country, to win an award for his country. You could see how much this means to him. Look at the effort he's putting in at someone at his age, alongside a bunch of kids where he's the elderman, the elder statesman. That's how you use an overage player. Who do we have as overage players?
Did you see him shouting at those players? Did you see
exactly.
the high level?
He's like having a coach on the pitch.
You go in, he was shouting at some of them young players when they weren't doing the right things, and that's what you need. You've got a manager on the pitch, and he's already going to have the respect of Thierry Henry and the coaching staff. So that's a level of performance that you need. I would say one thing I would point out for the USA, what they should lean into more is set pieces. Set pieces could be a way for them to get goals in this competition, and especially when you've got a Walker Zimmerman who can be a big threat in set pieces.
Miles Robinson had that early flick on the first corner of the game for them, the only corner in the first half, where he gets the flick at the near post, but nothing comes from it. Yeah, I think, this is the next game against New Zealand, who just beat Guinea. That has to be a win, right? And that's a winnable game. I watched them play against Guinea, and they work hard. They're in unison in the way that they press and the way that they defend, but they're very beatable. So this is going to be a challenge.
This would be interesting tactics-wise.
Yeah.
So if you're New Zealand, you sit there and say, let's frustrate USA, because they have to win more than we do.